All right, we got free agency around the corner. We got the draft less than 10 weeks away. Where should the Texans focus their attention? Answer is the offense. I got 5 reasons why the Texans, Nick Caserio, DeMeco Ryans and company should focus their attention, use their prime assets on offense. It is the Locker Room, #1 source for daily Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2. Central on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app, the official home of the Texans. We keep you close to the team as anyone. I would say more than anyone, but I'm also a little bit biased. This is the #1 source for daily Texans digital content, though. The Locker Room. Like, subscribe, ride along, whether you're a Texans fan or not. Business is picking up, and the offseason is about to be upon us. As far as that goes, though, the Texans should be focusing on offense. I got 5 reasons why Nick Caserio, DeMeco Ryans should focus on offense. You may agree, you may disagree. Put your disagreements in the comments. If I say something dumb, let me know. We're all about interacting here in the Locker Room. Reason 1 is because the quarterback needs to have stuff around him. Last year, the Texans, it was very clear that Davis Mills was not that dude. So I'm not going to be this guy that says you're not going to know about, Davis Mills is not a franchise quarterback. Okay. 2 things can be true. You can have bad stuff around you, and you can also have piss poor quarterback play. It's not a power ranking thing when it comes to that type of thing. It was kind of unrealistic to expect Mills to be a franchise quarterback. He's not, but the next quarterback's going to need to have a little bit more around him. You had one of the worst receiving corps in the league. Brandon Cooks had one of the worst years of his career by his standards. Then he got upset. His best 2 games were at the end of the year. And Brandon Cooks most likely not going to be here next year, which leaves you with Nico Collins, who you have the same questions about this year as you did last. Don't know if he can be a quality number 2. Don't know if he's just a guy that's a rotation guy. Don't know if he can even stay healthy. John Mechie, you drafted him last year. He was coming off a torn ACL. He then had to go fight for his life with leukemia. Reports are he looks good, but we can't expect anything from John Mechie. So you've got to improve the receiving core. Running back room, probably even worse. Probably the worst running back room that I've ever seen in my time covering football. And I'm not exaggerating. Dameon Pierce was great. He was awesome. But Dameon Pierce at Florida, 329 carries through 4 seasons. Last year, you gave him the ball 220 times through 13. You weren't really giving him an opportunity to be spelled. You've got to have multiple running backs. You've got to have multiple running backs. They can be a quarterback's best friend. The devaluing of the running back position, it's becoming more and more out of style. The Texans, however, they looked into Pierce. Or I'll give you credit. Good pick, Nick, of Pierce. But then you kind of neglected the running back position. That can't happen, especially if you're trying to build around a franchise quarterback. Tight end position, also very disappointing. You have Tegan Quinturiano right now, who you think can be a contributor. I feel very, very good about him. Don't know what's going to happen with Brevin Jordan. Then you have OJ the Juice Man Howard and Jordan Akins as free agents. So the tight end, you're thin there. You got to do something. The good news is you got good tackles. Laramie Tunsil, all-pro caliber tackle. Titus Howard, best year of his career last year at right tackle. Kenyon Green, you hope is going to look like a quality starting guard in the league. And then you're probably going to need to use a prime asset on a center. And I think that improves everything, and your offensive line is straight. So it's not a situation where you have a quarterback and you're too worried about the O-line. That could be an easy-ish fix, easier said than done. But the wide receiver position, the running back position, the tight end position, bad. If you're going to draft a quarterback at 2, which we believe they are, you've got to put stuff around the quarterback. Reason number 2, and this is one of the most important things, the landscape of this year's draft. Way too often when talking about drafts, you'll hear people say, well, you just got to get an elite cornerback, and you got to get an elite linebacker, and you got to get an elite. Doesn't work that way. Sometimes the player pool is different. Now, you're going to find players sometimes a little bit later, guys that everyone thinks are going to be good are going to end up being disappointments, but that's just part of it. But with the way this draft is laid out, specifically early on in the first 3 rounds, you have incredible opportunity to get what appears to be really good players at wide receiver. I think there's going to be a run on wide receivers starting from about 10 till the second round. you have a good opportunity to get tight ends. There's some really good tight ends that could be going day 2. And the running back position from Bijan Robinson at 12, which is a polarizing topic, to Gibbs, to Vaughn later on, to A-Chain. There is a massive opportunity to get prime offensive players. And from a defensive perspective, because you believe they're going to get a quarterback at 2, outside of Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, you go to 12. That's the money spot for wide receivers. So the landscape of the draft is reason number 2 why maybe focusing on the offense would make more sense. Reason number 3, because Cooks is likely going to be traded. So you're going to lose arguably your best player on offense. Now, Laramie's the best, but your best skill position guy on offense, unless you want to put Pierce there. But your most proven over a period of time in Brandon Cooks, he's going to be gone, and that immediately makes wide receiver arguably the biggest need. Pick 12 is when you're going to have that opportunity. There's going to be some names that are going to come up. Quentin Johnston out of TCU, Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. You're going to hear people talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba once the combine comes around, and then Addison out of USC. There's a lot of opportunity. And the beauty for the Texans and also the sad reality is you don't really have any receivers that you feel great about holding it down. Even Mechie, like if you think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be an elite slot guy, I don't think you can just ignore Smith and Jigba if he's the top guy. If you want someone like Hyatt or you want someone like Johnston, that could be the opportunity there. So with Cooks being traded, wide receiver is going to be a need. And oh, by the way, kind of thin in the free agent market. So Cooks being traded, you've got to improve the offensive skill position quality, because then it's just Dameon Pierce and a bunch of uncertainty. Reason number 4 to focus on the offense. You actually have some potential badasses on defense, some dogs, as many like to say, including Laramie Tunsil. Jalen Petrie, Pro Bowl caliber ceiling. If DeMeco Ryans is able to get the most of him like he has some guys at in San Francisco. 5 interceptions last year, up and down rookie year, but he was solid. Derek Stingley, going to put him on an island. You're going to use him like Sauce Gardner's used in New York. Potential dog. And then Christian Harris, I think DeMeco Ryans is going to do wonders with him. So you have some guys with high ceilings on defense. On offense, can't necessarily say the same, especially once Cooks goes. From a skill position standpoint, you have Pierce, although, again, giving him the ball 220 times through 13 games is not ideal. And then after that, though, you don't really have anyone that you can rely on. So there's not really high ceilings on right now the offensive side of the rock, but there is on defense. And number 5, DeMeco, his coaching strength is defense. So he's going to be able to coach up some guys on defense. You think, you hope, you cross your fingers and hope, like he did in San Francisco, he's going to coach some of these guys up. So if DeMeco can do that, get your guys on offense, fix your offense, and then heading into next year's draft, you're going to have the same amount of draft equity. And hopefully you have an offense that you feel good about with a young quarterback, with a better receiver group, with a better running back group, and with a better tight end group. It's sometimes a blessing and a curse where you need all of these things, because that means on paper you don't have a very good ball club. But it also allows you a lot more room to be able to get guys. It's not like the Texans in 2018, 2019, where, we said they need a corner and they need a offensive lineman. This is kind of a situation where the Texans need a lot. They're going to have to figure it out, but they should focus on offense again, because reason number 1, the QB needs some stuff around him, assuming you're going to pick him at number 2. Number 2, the landscape of the draft, the opportunity to get guys that can help on offense. Number 3, Cooks is likely going to be traded, so that only increases that. Number 4, have some potential dogs on defense. And number 5, DeMeco, coaching strength. He can coach up the D. Subscribe, like, share, ride along with me here inside the locker room, number 1 source for Texans daily digital content. And ride along with me, 10 to 2, show of record on Sports Radio 610 in the loop, 10 to 2 Central. Download the Odyssey app, ride along. We're going to be doing some lives throughout. We're about 6 months deep right now, and we're about 3K deep. It's only going to get better. The Texans digital game is blowing up, and stuff's about to get real fun. We're a few weeks away from free agency and less than 10 weeks away from the draft. Fun times, fun times, fun times. No matter what happens, whether they focus on offense or defense, remember, when it comes to this Texans thing, we are all in this together. Have a good President's Day.